You know, folks, they usually say just when you think it's all over, they got one more in them. They do. They got one more in them. At a time when Japan does not want to attract attention, they do not want to attract the eyes of the regulatory bureaus and institutions around the world to look at them for their kind of monopolistic ways in not promoting foreign goods in their country. Sony turns around and gives them the middle finger and decides that it is still going to fight the Activision Blizzard case. At a time when they're being hacked to left, right, and center, they are having to lay off all that staff, they are closing studios, and so much more, not forgetting cancelling games. The best way to spend their money is not retaining staff, is not retaining talent. The best way to spend their money is to continue to fight the good fight against Microsoft with the FTC to try and block a deal that's already been approved. To try and block a deal that's already been passed. I shit you not, this is going on right now. And as you can see here, Sony is still trying to help the FTC fight the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. Sony recently responded to a subpoena from the FTC and decided to cherry pick their responses. And as we can see down here, there's a whole kind of article, well, a deposition. So let's just read it, right? Let's go through it. This is what it is. Respondent Microsoft Corporation motion to certify to the Commission a request for court enforcement of subpoena duties taken issued to non-party Sony Interactive Entertainment. So Sony decided that they're going to team up with the FTC, right? I mean, it's not like they have enough of their laundry already plastered over the internet. It's not like people aren't playing Wolverine and apparently they're playing Venom, as we're about to see. It's not like people are completely ransacking their complete, roadmap of everything, ruining potential sales and whatnot. Because, hype sales are a big thing in gaming, right? No one's anymore kind of hyped for X-Men because they know it's coming. It's kind of like one of those games. But no. They are still trying to, die on this horse. And now it looks like the tables are going to turn against Sony because Sony basically cherry-picked what they wanted and didn't provide the courts or Microsoft with what they requested. When Microsoft announced the proposed acquisition of Activision, Sony Interactive President and CEO Jim Ryan wrote to a friend and mentor that the acquisition was not an Xbox exclusivity play at all, which is correct, and that Sony Interactive Entertainment would be more than okay if the deal were consummated. An email from Jim Ryan, Microsoft acquisitions of Activision at 01 Jan 2022. So Jim Ryan had already, understood that this wasn't a power play on exclusivity. Maybe a few games would go exclusive, all the games would go onto Game Pass, but ultimately there was a bigger fish to fry here, and that was the mobile market. They wanted that mobile market and they wanted that live service money. In stark contrast to this candid private assessment, Sony Interactive Entertainment has long outwardly and vocally claimed, including to competition authorities around the world, that the acquisition would be harmful, despite the fact that they originally said it wouldn't affect us. Just days after Microsoft prevailed in the FTC's preliminary injunction, Sony Interactive Entertainment inked a 10-year licensing deal with Microsoft for Call of Duty. So it is a 10-year deal. Microsoft-Sony agreement that guarantees Sony, I'm just going to call it Sony going forward, better terms than it had with Activision. So not only is Sony now getting 10% more revenue from each sale, because with Activision they got 20%, here they're getting 30%. So not only are they getting a better deal, they still are not happy. One would think that would have marked the end of Sony's campaign against the Microsoft Activision deal. It did not. As Microsoft recently learned upon receiving Sony's cherry-picked 52 document production in response to the FTC subpoena related to the Microsoft-Sony agreement, and we've got a bunch of redacted information here. Specifically, Sony's production included a letter which provides lots of information that we can't see. Microsoft is entitled to take discovery to test Sony's assertions and seek a narrow, targeted production of documents from Sony related to the Microsoft-Sony agreement. So now, Microsoft is saying, I'm sorry, but the information that you've provided is basically garbage, and if you want it to be presented in court, scratch that. You know what? Now we're going to come after you, and now we want the actual documents from you that pertain to this information. And we want all of it, all the nitty-gritty stuff to be laid out in bare in court, which is then going to be laid out publicly. So at a time when Sony's details are all over the internet, they decided that screw the hackers, we're going to decide that we're going to put our laundry for public display ourselves. They thought by cherry-picking 52 documents that they could actually get away with it. Microsoft's lawyers ain't your run-of-the-mill, back-alley, corner shop lawyers. These people make a hell of a lot of money for what they do, right? And it looks like Sony assumed that that would be the end of it. And now Microsoft is going after Sony and they want those details. And you know what? Sony is going to have to now dig deep and provide the information that Microsoft wants. And guess what? That's going to be more of their details and dirty laundry that's going to be put out to display. And if they were caught to try and be misleading the courts, which is basically what that's telling us is they were doing, because if you cherry pick something, you are cherry picking it because you are hiding something. You are trying to make yourself look in a more disadvantaged position than you are actually. That actually plays against them. That actually goes against them. And this can now go all the way back if the US Congress wants to get involved again and start turning around to the Japanese government. And if the Japanese government turns around and says, well, look, Sony, what are you doing? We already told you to stand down. Why are you doing this? Does Sony really need that heat right now? And before anyone gets involved, oh, Congress and government should stay out of it. They're involved whether you like it or not. End of story, right? They're involved. The moment regulators get involved, it's a government institution. It's a government-run practice. Everyone's involved, whether it's lobbyists or not. It's there. It's happening. And that pressure can now be applied and put on again at a time when things had calmed down. Sony decides that it's going to do what it does best and try to piss off not only Japan, which it no longer gives a shit about, but also try to disrupt what Microsoft is doing. Why? Because it can clearly see that what Microsoft is doing is working. Microsoft is making money, way more money than Sony is. Sony may be making the revenues, but they're not making the profits. Game Pass on its own has made 2 to 3 billion outside of the actual cost of it costing 1 billion. The average cost of Game Pass is around $1 billion, but they make around 3 to 4 billion at the moment. So that's like in gross. So 3 billion is not bad in turnover, right? Just from Game Pass. Obviously, there are other areas of the business that are going to soak into that, but it's a profitable business. Sony clearly do not like this because despite all their efforts for blockbuster videos and mass production, they're just not making the money. And as we saw with Spider-Man, they haven't even broken even yet. They need to sell like 7.2 to 7.4 million base copies, right? We're talking digital copies almost to break even. The moment you apply that to a disc product or to a bundle, that's going up to around 8 million copies potentially or more. So that's a lot. That Marvel deal is not a good one. But Sony has not committed to produce a single document in response to Microsoft's subpoena and has insisted that its production to the FTC is sufficient to satisfy Microsoft's subpoena, despite not having conducted proper custodial searches. And clearly, everything they provided makes them look good and makes everyone else look bad and doesn't even answer the question. Whether the FTC is going to accept that or not is different, but the courts won't. Microsoft therefore moves pursuant to 16 CFR for an order certifying to the Commission a request to enforce Microsoft's subpoena in federal district court. So Microsoft turned around and said, you know what? If you're not going to supply the documents that we've requested to the FTC, fine. We're just going to go to the court, to the federal court, to the district federal court, and turn around and tell them to give you a subpoena, one that you cannot turn down. You want to play games? That's fine. We'll just tell them that you aren't cooperating, you're making things difficult, you're clearly hiding something, and that we need the court now to step in to actually get that information to find out what it is that your dirty laundry is actually hiding, where it is you're actually lying. Because only liars try to hide stuff, right? Only people that have something to lose hide stuff, right? No one that has nothing to lose would purposefully go out their way to cherry pick documents to hide things because they've got nothing to hide. What is Sony exactly trying to do here? What is it they're trying to, entertain here? The ABK deal is done. The ABK deal is over. Move on. You've even got a better deal with Call of Duty. What's your problem? It's not like Diablo or Overwatch is ever going to come off of PlayStation. You're still going to funnel that money to Microsoft, whether you like it or not. Microsoft is happy to take your money, and your fans are happy to play the games. It's a win-win situation. You're still getting a better deal, at least for the next 10 years. Who knows what's going to happen after 10 years? And as you can see here, granting respondents motion to certify district court enforcement of subpoena issued to a non-party, basically to Sony, because the party in favor, in actual question, is of course the FTC. This is ridiculous that Sony is still going after this, and at a time when they're bleeding money, running low profits, record low profits, at a time when they can't even break even, they're laying off staff, they're cancelling games left, right, and center because they can't actually fund those games. They are still going after this and wasting money, and then you got the PlayStation fans jumping for joy because they think this is going to go somewhere. The delusions of grandeur are quite epic, and the amount of money Sony decides that it can waste is crazy. But, let's waste money on this, right? Let's waste money on a losing battle, on a battle that we will 100% lose. But let's not keep our staff retained at a time during Christmas, which is, one of the most festive years possible. Let's give our staff the best Christmas present we can possibly give them by turning around and telling them, you're fired. That is the Sony way, folks. They're more interested in running after a lost cause than trying to be a good company, at least to their staff. Forget the customers, at least to the people that made them who they are. So this is how we are right now. They are playing everything allegedly. Apparently, my review of the Venom PC build, shockingly good. Web slinging as Venom is insane. FPS is insane. Riot Mission had a bit of glitches, but guys, we are so effing back. Make sure you compile whatever. People are already here saying that, it's fake and all that, but whatever. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's fake. But at a time when all their laundry is out in the open for them to be exposed and exploited, they want to die on their FTC trial. And of course, then we have this final slide that I'm going to go with. As you can see here, no PlayStation 5 Pro or PlayStation 6 mentioned in a 15-year roadmap. So in that big roadmap that they had of not just games but everything else, nothing was mentioned for next-gen consoles. That would have actually come out just like it did with Microsoft's one, with their refresh. PS5 install base, including PS4, is 136 million as of March 2023. 117 million is PS4. So as of March, they only had 20 million units sold, I guess. 19 million units sold. PS5 lost 50% profit, and we'll see that here. PlayStation games and services suffer over 50% operating income drop year over year. Sony posted their Q2 earnings report for the fiscal year 2022, and it shows that their gaming division with PlayStation has suffered a rather dramatic drop in operating income. This massive drop is about roughly 60%, well 59% when converted to USD. Such a massive drop-off comes due to the Japanese yen weakening, but also with other major factors. We have PlayStation 5 has only declined software sales and profit all gen. They've been on a constant decline all generation, apparently. Well, this is at least up until March, right? We don't know what's happened. We don't know the numbers as of March to where we are right now. And I assume Spider-Man would have boosted it a little bit in terms of sales, but overall profits would still be down because they haven't broken even. PlayStation sold 50 million peripherals this generation. I guess now because everything's regarded as peripherals. And if we look at this, in 2019, their unit sales was 245 million. Then they went up to 338.9 million. 2021, they dropped down to 303.2 million. And of course, 2022, they dropped down to 264.2 million. These numbers speak for themselves. They're not in the best of places. And as we can see here, we come back to this again. 2022, the profit for the financial year was 782,821,000. For the year ending 31st March 2023, they made 317 million profit. That's a big drop from the 782. That's like a 59-60% drop in profits. It's huge, and they're hemorrhaging a lot right now. And as this joker's here, Wolverine is an Xbox is not playable on Xbox. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually did manage to get it with the dev kits, but this speaks for itself, right? Their profits are dropping. But you know what? This is the hill they want to die on. This is where they want to waste more money. Rather than focusing on games that they can build, they can, produce good quality games like the infamous games that people are asking for, like the Resistance games that people are asking for. Make the Sunset Overdrive and make it multi-platform. It's games that will sell on PlayStation and Xbox. It's making you money. Why not? But instead, they want to waste their money here and continue to tell people you're fired because we're spending too much money trying to reverse a decision that simply won't be reversed. The preliminary injunction to the FTC will not be granted. I don't know, folks. This is ridiculous to me. But you guys wanted more updates on the ABK trial, so here it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. And on that note, I'm not going to be around tomorrow, more than likely, so have a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a fantastic day on the 25th. I know some of you in Europe celebrate it on the 24th, so Merry Christmas to you as well. I should be back streaming midweek between Christmas and the New Year, so do look out for that as well. So otherwise, I'm out. Remain legend.